In today's session, we're going to continue on the series of organizational opportunities, stories, and lessons learned from the front lines. Today's story comes to us from a manufacturing company that's a make-to-order environment. They were dealing with a lot of production pressures because their customer demand was increasing, and it was difficult for them to hire new people and to increase their internal capacity. So what happened was that increase in demand, they started increasing the size of the orders with their suppliers. When they started increasing the orders with suppliers, that created more demand on the suppliers, and the suppliers came back and said, oh, with that bigger order quantity, we need to give you a longer lead time, which caused the company to increase the order size even more. So they got in this vicious cycle of, oh, increase the order size, lead time goes out. Lead time goes out, I need to increase the order size to cover that demand over that lead time. So how do we challenge the ordering practices in this case to help improve the situation? In today's session, we're going to talk about challenging the supply chain unreliability and the supply chain demand and lead time. So let's understand replenishment time. So replenishment time is very important when we're looking at the supply chain. The definition is the time between when a material arrives at one point in the supply chain until the next order for the same material arrives at the same point in the supply chain. So the time between when that material arrives, we start the clock. When the same material arrives at the same point, we stop the clock, and that's the replenishment time. So it's made up of three elements: the order lead time, the production or supply lead time, and then the transportation lead time. So in this case, the order lead time is material shows up, and then when we place the next order, that's the order lead time. Then we place that order with the supplier gets the order, produces the order, and gets it ready for shipment. That's the supply lead time. And then from dock to dock, it's a transportation lead time. Therefore, the replenishment time equals the sum of those three elements. So the order lead time, again, from one time the material arrives at the consumption point until the next order is placed, usually triggered by a min-max inventory system. The supply lead time is defined by when the order is placed until the order is ready for delivery, which includes time for the supplier to process the order, wait in queue to produce the order, and then to produce the order and get it ready for shipment. And then the transportation lead time is defined by the time it takes to transport from the supply point to the consumption point. So those are our three elements. So if we look at it from a pictorial point of view, we have our min-max system, our point of consumption, material arrives, and we start consuming it. When it gets down to the min level, I place the order. So that's my order lead time. Then we send that order to the supplier, and then he has to produce that order, and then gets it ready for shipment, and that's his supply lead time. And then transportation lead time is back to the point of consumption. So that's the entire replenishment time. When we're looking at improving the supply chain performance and reducing lead time, the solution in the inventory management system must drastically reduce shortages, reduce the high levels of demand placed on suppliers. We must find a better way to protect sales or throughput without holding more inventory or increasing the order size placed with the suppliers. So what mechanism will allow us to consolidate inventory strategically where demand can be aggregated, drastically reduce the order lead time, and replenish more frequently in smaller quantities? So pull replenishment is the mechanism that allows us to do that. So we need to right size the inventory, place smaller orders with suppliers, place inventory at strategic locations, and then implement the pull replenishment. So let's look at two different examples here between a min-max system and the replenishment time, and then a pull replenishment system. So in this case, we have a supplier lead time that's 2 days, they're 80% reliable. Transportation lead time in 1 day, the average daily consumption is 50 units. So that's what we consume in production. And our min is 200, our max is 800. What happens is something shows up at the point of consumption and we're at 800. Then the question is, what's the order lead time? So the order lead time is from when the order arrives until it gets down to the reorder point or the min level. So in this case, on an average of 50 units per day, what we see is after 2 days, 100 are consumed. After 4 days, another 100 are consumed, and so forth. And then when we get down to 12 days and an average of 50 units of consumption a day, then we place the order for the next order from our supplier. So in this case, our order lead time is 12 days. Then to get the replenishment time, we take the 12 days plus the 2-day supply lead time plus the 1-day transportation lead time, and our total replenishment time is 15 days. So now we need to order enough material to satisfy our demand over a 15-day horizon. Now, if we increase the order size, that's going to increase the order lead time, which increases the replenishment cycle. So that's what was happening in this case. But if we go to pull replenishment and we trigger more frequently smaller quantities and shorten that demand horizon, what happens in this case when we have the same supplier lead time and same transportation lead time, but internally, when we consume 100, we're going to place an order. So in this case, after 2 days, we consume the 100 units and we place the order. So our order lead time goes from 12 days to 2 days. Then our replenishment time is 2 days plus 2 days plus 1 day, or 5 days. So we're significantly reducing the replenishment time, which is a smaller demand horizon, which is less demand placed on the supply chain and our suppliers. How do we set the inventory target? So we set the maximum consumption within the average replenishment time factored by the unreliability of the replenishment time. So we need to look at unreliability of the suppliers. You can do that by taking the orders that were placed with the supplier, looking at when they were placed, when they were delivered, and calculate how many days it took to deliver that order and the order size. And we can come up with a histogram that shows us the average number of days and the range of number of days. And then we want to select that 95th percentile and set that as our supply lead time and our supply reliability. Then the inventory that we have in the supply chain, the target inventory is what's on hand plus what's on the way. So what we have in stock plus what's on order is our target inventory. Therefore, the average on-hand inventory should be about half the target inventory. So shortening the replenishment cycle will shorten the demand horizon for what's required to order from suppliers, thus placing less demand on them. So in this case, what we did is we went to the suppliers and said, hey, those big orders that we placed, they're extremely long lead times for you. What about if we gave you smaller orders? Oh, if you give us smaller orders, we can deliver them more quickly. Oh, that's great. So let's place a smaller order. Let's get the lead time down. Let's get that material in. Let's get some flow going. And then let's place another small order for a smaller demand horizon, which will get to us quicker and keep flow going. So it's sort of counterintuitive, but what we can do is we can reduce that demand horizon, do smaller orders more frequently, put less demand on our suppliers, and actually reduce their lead time. When we reduce the lead time, we see that their reliability also goes up. So that's our session for today. Thanks for joining. Connect with me on LinkedIn, visit our website to learn about what services we provide, and visit our YouTube channel where we have lots of videos on this type of information about how to improve performance of the organization, performance of the supply chain, and create operational excellence.